All right. Good evening. Hi, Elad. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Shalom, Milwaukee. Shalom from Washington, D.C.
So thank you so much for joining me today. This is Elad Strohmayer, the spokesman for the Israel Embassy in DC. And I saw all the photos from yesterday, and I know you had quite an experience. I don't know how many people share those pictures on Facebook, but it seems like, I don't know, it feels like from my Facebook feed that maybe I know like half of the people over there in DC. So I would just like, to ask you about the experience from yesterday, about Netanyahu, about UAE, and about your personal experience there.
So first of all, Milwaukee, full disclosure, Uria and I know each other. For many years, we used to work together at the Jewish Agency, and that was a great experience. And I also had the privilege of visiting your community when I served in Philadelphia in 2015. I came alongside my husband, Oren, who's sitting just next to me here. He's waving from the side. And we talked about gay life in Israel. So our visit to Milwaukee was amazing, and you're an amazing and beautiful community. So I'm happy, and thank you, Uria, for inviting me to speak to you again. Milwaukee is close to our heart. Now to your question about our experience yesterday. I really feel it was truly a remarkable and festive day. It was a spirit of a holiday, and it was so appropriate that we did that on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, New Year, new beginnings, and this is what we were evidencing yesterday. A new beginning in relationship of Israel with the Arab world. So clearly it's not the first peace agreement that Israel has. We already signed a peace agreement with Egypt in 1979, with Jordan in 1994, but this is a step forward because we always wanted not just to have peace agreement or non-war agreement, we wanted to have full relations, warm relations, people to people, and I think this is what we saw yesterday. We saw the warmth between the leaders, we saw the warmth between the participants. Like you said, you saw so many people on Facebook, you know so many people there. So do I, and I saw them there. And you saw the interaction between the Israeli and the Emirati delegation and the Israeli and the Bahraini delegation. You saw that people are really keen on interacting with one another. And this is why I'm hopeful. This is a new beginning for a better future. And it's so appropriate that it's on Rosh Hashanah. And I'll say that after the year we had with all this COVID thing, it's a good thing that we have something positive also, positive not in positive COVID, but positive in our life to look for. And I think things can only get better from there.
So how was your last couple of weeks? Like, when did you know that this is happening? Like September 16th, I guess? No, yeah, September 15th.
September 15th.
Yeah, and how, like, did you have, like, a lot of work over there in the embassy? And how crazy was the, like, because I only know, maybe all the other Israeli only knew that the ceremony is happening just in, I don't know, in the last week or couple of weeks ago. So how crazy was that for you and everyone else in the embassy?
It was very crazy, very crazy. We worked a lot on that. I think one of the reasons that we could pull it off, the embassy, our ambassador, Ron Dermer, and all the people who were involved in that, is that the fact it was kept secret. If you want to make this type of achievements, do them, don't talk about doing them. And the moment you talk about it, it can jeopardize it, it can change a little bit the dynamics. So you need to let the people who are doing the work underneath the surface to do their job. And it was something that was actually in the process for several months, not just several weeks, several months before the announcement a month ago. And the fact that it was successful, it's because it was not leaked. It was not being published, and the sides could talk to one another freely and very comfortably. Now, on our side specifically, I can testify on my part of the deal, so to speak. I'm the spokesperson of the embassy, so working on the media component of it, I was in charge of placing the ambassador and arranging interviews for him and briefings on that. I worked on creating a media plan, briefing journalists off the record, on background about the different aspects of it. And the highlight was the visit yesterday and the ceremony when I was in charge of the Israeli delegation of journalists that came and making sure everything is going smoothly. And this is why I said it was nice as part of my job to see how the Israeli journalists interacted with the Bahraini and the Emiratis journalists. And this is really the seeds of peace being planted, and maybe we can see them grow now even more.
As we speak, I'm trying to find, because I wanted to do it beforehand, but I want to show a couple of the pictures of the photos from yesterday, but maybe I'll do it a bit later. So I guess my next question is, when I look on, when I look on social media in Israel, when I look at the media, I feel like there are like two different voices. Those who are like saying, trying to make it like, like a great achievement or something that look at it and it's like, it's not a big deal. And I know you work at the embassy, and I know you're a diplomat now. You're not a Shaliach, but I wonder, like, where do you find those like two voices that you hear from Israel on like the achievement and the criticism? And what do you think personally from those both angles?
So I think us Israelis, and I think everybody who watch us right now, they can definitely relate to that. Us Israelis, we're very cynical. We're very cynical and we're very skeptical. And I think the responses that we saw in Israel to this really, what I think is an historic achievement, were somehow, like you said, very supportive or very cynical. And in most part, I would say it comes from a position. If you like the prime minister, you're supporting it. If you don't like the prime minister, you're not supporting it. I'm generalizing, by the way. There were people who don't like the prime minister who also expressed support, and support with a but coming in. Now, I'm not a political person. I'm a career diplomat. So I don't have a position here or one or another. And I think we need to look at it as what it is. Something that Israel was long waiting for, because in our Declaration of Independence, it was written that we're stretching our hand in peace to our neighbors, calling to our neighbors to live peacefully with one another. So yes, we don't share a border with United Arab Emirates, and we don't share a border with Bahrain, but there are our neighbors in our neighborhood in the Middle East. They are very important in that sense. So we're stretching our hand, and this is something that Israel has strived for more than 70 years of our existence, and it came to true yesterday. So this is big. This is historic. Whether you are right-wing or left-wing, this is something of part of the ethos of Israel of wanting peace. And this is, for me, this is a huge accomplishment, and it's historic. And the other element that is very important to note, and again, some people might disagree with me or say that, yes, this is an example of what I'm saying, that it's a wrong thing, but this is a fact. Everybody taught us that peace in the Middle East will come when the Israeli-Palestinian issue will be resolved. The moment the Israeli-Palestinian issue will be resolved, everybody will sing Kumbaya in the Middle East and peace has erupted. I think what we saw yesterday proves that that's not the case. We can achieve peace in the Middle East regardless to the Palestinian issue. Now, we want peace with the Palestinians. We still stretch our hand in peace to the Palestinians, that's for sure. But we broke the paradigm that says that you can only achieve peace if you have peace with the Palestinians. For many years, and I'm quoting the ambassador on that, for many years, everybody thought that peace in the Middle East can be achieved through Ramallah. And today we learned that peace in the Middle East can be achieved through Abu Dhabi, through Cairo, through Jordan. It's not necessarily only through the Palestinians. Now, I'm optimistic. Like I said, this is a new year. We're approaching New Year and new beginnings. I'm very hopeful, inshallah, as we say in Arabic, that the Palestinians will look at that and understand that the Arab train has left the station. That's it. Arab countries are normalizing with Israel. They want to have a relationship with Israel. They know what are the benefits of having a relationship with Israel. And they want to do that not just for strategic reasons. They want to do that because they really feel the warmth between, and we saw that. I said it. I saw it yesterday, the warmth between the Emirati people and the Israeli people. So I hope that the Palestinians will see that the Arab train has left the station, and now they can still be refuseniks and lose, or join that train, join and come and negotiate with Israel, and let's finally find a solution to that, solve that problem on the basis of the Trump peace plan that was very clear. And I'm hopeful that maybe now we'll see the change. I really am.
So, all right, before we continue, I just want to share here, I love that one. Can you see it? Yes, that's you and Oren.
Oren and myself on the south lawn of the White House before the ceremony. Yes, it's a big moment.
How many people were there?
I think there were like 700, 800 people, as far as I know. It was the White House that was in charge of the numbers and the invitation. So I don't have the exact numbers, but that's my assumption.
All right. So I guess my last question, or my next and last question, will be: this is about about the future of a region. You talk about being very optimistic. When I'm thinking about November 3rd, and I'm thinking about the upcoming elections in America, do you think the result will impact consequences of this peace agreement, or it has nothing to do with who's going to be the next prime minister in Israel and who's going to be the next president of America? It has nothing to do with it.
It's a very good question, and I'm very happy that you asked that, because people, again, I was talking earlier about coming from a position, right? So here in the United States, if you're a Republican, you think Trump is the best thing happened to Israel. If you're a Democrat, he's the worst thing happened to Israel, and everybody's talking from a position. Now, one of the good things that I think Israel and the United States have is that the relationship between our two countries is on a bipartisan basis. It's not dependent on an identity of a specific president. And that's very important to maintain. That's very important to emphasize. And I think the example is the responses that we saw from both sides of the aisle here in the United States regarding these historic Abraham Accords, these peace agreements. Both Democrats and both Republicans applauded and supported it, because who's not going to support peace? And both Democrats and Republicans support Israel. We don't have a doubt about that. So I think regardless of the outcomes of the elections, peace between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, and hopefully soon we'll see more countries, by the way, joining in, is a done deal. It's a fact. And I think whoever is going to be in the White House come November, whether it's the president who stays there or Vice President Biden, whoever is going to be the occupant of the White House will build on this basis of this relationship, of this warmth of relationship between Israel and the Gulf countries. And on this basis, we hope, like I said, to achieve peace also with our Palestinian neighbors. So I think people try from their position to push, if Biden is elected or Trump is elected, this is what's going to happen. I think the relationship are so strong that we can move forward regardless who's the president. And it's the same thing in our system, regardless of who's the prime minister. We saw the relationship that Prime Minister Rabin had with President Clinton, and relationship that Prime Minister Sharon had with President Bush. And now we see the relationship of Prime Minister Netanyahu with President Trump. It's regardless to the identity of the leaders. The relationship are extremely, extremely strong. And I'm optimistic. This is me. I'm smiling. I'm optimistic. I think that no matter what happens, we have a great future ahead of us. And one of the reasons is us. Us, I mean Israelis, American Jews, that we maintain this friendship. And if I need to give a message for the new year to the Jewish community in Milwaukee, is that keep the relations, keep the friendship. Don't make Israel a partisan issue, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. Show your love to Israel and agree on your love to Israel, regardless to your political affiliation, because this is when we're stronger, and this is when we can achieve better things, when we're working together despite our differences and working together towards a better future. And I think yesterday was a glimpse of what this better future entails.
Great. Thank you so much, Elad. Toda rabba. Shana tova.
Shana tova. And I think we're frozen. הפייסבוק החדש הזה, נראה לי פתאום שמירות כזה. מי זה?
רגע, אתה איתי?
אוקיי, עכשיו אני איתך.
לא, נפל לי האינטרנט.